Have you ever felt it? That strange, almost frustrating moment when you carefully choose your words, intelligent, thoughtful, measured, and yet, the person in front of you shrugs them off as if they carried no weight at all. It's as if respect doesn't naturally come from clarity or wisdom, but instead from whoever raises their voice the loudest. But here's the hidden truth that most people miss. Real influence doesn't come from volume. It doesn't live in the noise of shouting. It lives in silence, sharpened into precision, delivered with calm control. Imagine this for a moment. You walk into a meeting at work. Maybe it's tense. Maybe it's filled with clashing egos. Or picture yourself in the middle of a heated argument at home. Perhaps even a casual conversation among friends suddenly turns into a debate. In that moment, you don't raise your voice. You don't pound the table. And yet, one sentence from you makes the entire room fall silent. Not because you yelled louder, but because your words carried undeniable weight. That is the essence of real power. And today, I'm going to share with you 5 phrases that hold exactly that kind of power. Each one is like a blade, small, sharp, and impossible to ignore. They don't rely on aggression. They don't rely on intimidation. They rely on clarity, presence, and restraint. And trust me, when we reach phrase number 3, you'll see just how disarming a single line can be. Powerful enough to flip the entire balance of power in seconds. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once reminded us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." His point was simple. Respect isn't something you beg for, nor something you seize by force. Respect is commanded through your presence, your clarity, and your unshakable self-control. And this is exactly what these phrases help you do. Let's begin with the first one. It may seem ordinary at first, but it is anything but. The phrase is, "I understand your point, but I disagree." Now, at a glance, this may sound like just another polite sentence, but hidden beneath its simplicity lies a remarkable balance of power. Think about how most arguments unfold. They don't collapse because of facts. Facts are rarely the problem. Instead, they collapse because of ego. The instant you say to someone, "That's wrong," or "You don't know what you're talking about," their defenses rise instantly, like iron gates slamming shut. They stop listening. They start fighting. But this phrase, this one is different. When you begin with, "I understand your point," you disarm the other person before they even realize it. You show them that you have listened, that you have respected their perspective enough to acknowledge it. In that moment, their ego relaxes, because they feel seen, they feel heard, and only then do you draw the line. Calmly, firmly, without mockery or anger. "But I disagree." Notice what happens here. You're not shouting. You're not cornering them. You're simply standing tall in your own position without the need for force. That kind of presence is magnetic. It makes people lean in instead of pushing back. Picture it in action. You're sitting in a boardroom. A colleague lays out a plan that you know, deep down, is destined to fail. Most people would choose one of 2 extremes: stay silent and let it slide, or attack the idea head on, sparking instant conflict. But you take a different path. You lean forward, steady in your chair, eyes calm, voice even, and then you say, "I understand your point, but I disagree." The atmosphere changes. The room shifts. Suddenly, the people around you don't see you as combative, or rebellious, or disrespectful. Instead, they see you as independent, as thoughtful, as someone who cannot be manipulated or pushed around. That's not just influence, it's respect earned in its purest form. This, right here, is Stoicism alive, the art of separating raw emotion from clear judgment, the discipline to stand your ground without raising your blood pressure, the strength to disagree without dishonoring yourself or insulting the other person. And here lies the hidden truth most people never realize: the calmer your disagreement, the more powerful it becomes. Anyone can blurt out, "You're wrong." That requires no effort, no discipline, no mastery of self, but to hold your ground with serenity, to project certainty without hostility. That is power. That is what makes people trust your judgment, even if they don't always agree with it. And once you learn to wield this first phrase, you'll start to notice something fascinating. People stop bracing themselves when you speak. They start listening, even leaning toward you, curious to hear your take. And in a world overflowing with noise, the person who speaks with calm conviction becomes unforgettable. But this is only the beginning. If one phrase can shift the entire energy of a room, imagine what happens when you master the next. And this is where the lesson from the first phrase leaves its mark. When you can hold your ground with serenity, when you can separate emotion from judgment, people begin to trust your judgment even more. Because deep down, everyone knows the same timeless truth: the one who controls his voice controls the room. And the one who controls his mind commands respect, without ever having to demand it. So take that first phrase with you. Carry it into your next meeting, your next disagreement, your next conflict. I understand your point, but I disagree. Simple on the surface, unstoppable in effect. But of course, that's just the beginning. Because sometimes, the most powerful response you can give isn't long, or complex, or wrapped in cleverness. Sometimes, it's only 5 words. That brings us to phrase 2. I don't find that appropriate. Think about how much power hides inside such a short sentence. 5 words, and yet those 5 words can end a storm before it even begins. Picture what usually happens when someone crosses the line. Maybe it's a crude comment. Maybe it's an offensive joke. Maybe it's a remark that cuts just a little too deep. Most people laugh nervously. Some stay silent. Others, worse still, go along with it, nodding or chuckling even though inside they know it doesn't sit right. And what message does that send? A silent one, but powerful nonetheless. It says, it's okay to disrespect me. It's okay to disrespect others. I won't stand in the way. But now imagine a different picture. Someone delivers that same offensive remark, waiting for your approval, waiting for the easy laugh that keeps their behavior unchecked. Instead, you pause. You don't rush. You take one calm breath. Steady your eyes, and with complete composure you say, I don't find that appropriate. The air shifts instantly. The laughter that was bubbling around the room fades. People glance at each other, uncertain, realizing the atmosphere has changed. And in that moment, you send a very different message. You are not someone who can be toyed with. You are not someone who trades dignity for approval. Seneca once said, "He who respects himself will be respected by others." This phrase is that truth in action. You don't need a lecture. You don't need anger. You don't need a 10-minute speech explaining why. Those 5 words are enough. A boundary, set firmly in stone. Now, imagine it more vividly. You're sitting at a dinner table. A group of colleagues or friends is gathered. Someone makes an offhand joke, offensive, cruel, maybe even directed at someone who isn't present to defend themselves. The table bursts into polite laughter. All eyes turn to you, expecting your nod of approval, your smile, your agreement, but instead, you remain calm. You let the silence linger for just a heartbeat, and then you say, "I don't find that appropriate." The laughter stops, forks pause midway, and suddenly, the balance shifts. In that moment, you've made it clear, respect is not optional around you. You've drawn the line, without anger, without insult, but with undeniable authority. Here's the deeper truth. When you use this phrase, you don't just protect yourself. You give silent permission for others to protect themselves. 2. Every room has people who feel uncomfortable but stay quiet, afraid of being the only one to speak. When you draw your line, you show them how to draw theirs. That's why the Stoics saw dignity as an invisible shield. It requires no shouting. It requires no defense. It simply radiates. So carry this phrase with you. The next time someone crosses the line, don't fight fire with fire. Don't hide behind silence either. Stand tall, speak calm, and say, "I don't find that appropriate." 5 words, but 5 words that can silence disrespect and turn your presence into something unshakable. And yet, there are moments when the situation goes beyond a single boundary. Moments when the conversation itself has stopped being a conversation. Voices rise, interruptions fly. Every word feels less like communication and more like a weapon. We've all been there, when a discussion spirals so quickly that logic disappears and ego takes control. In that chaos, most people make one of 2 mistakes. They either fight back, matching the aggression blow for blow, escalating the conflict until it burns out of control, or they retreat into silence, withdrawing completely, carrying with them a quiet sense of defeat. Neither response restores dignity, neither response regains clarity, but the Stoic way is different. Instead of shouting, instead of shrinking, you take a pause, you breathe, and then, with calm authority, you use phrase 3. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. Notice what happens here. You don't take the bait. You don't get dragged into the whirlwind. Instead, you rewrite the rules of the exchange. You're saying, "I am willing to continue, but not under these terms. Not with raised voices, not with disrespect, not until the storm settles." And in that instant, the fire begins to die. Because suddenly, the game has changed. The person across from you is no longer fighting with an equal who matches their anger. They're faced with someone who has stepped outside the chaos altogether. You've shifted the entire dynamic, not by force, but by refusing to play by the old rules. You have refused to play by their terms. And now the control belongs to you. Picture this. A colleague cuts you off mid-sentence, their voice sharp, trying to dominate the entire room. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't beg to be heard. You simply say, calmly, "Let's talk when we can do so respectfully." Immediately, silence falls, because the message you've sent is crystal clear. You are not afraid of dialogue, but you will never accept disrespect. You don't lower yourself to ask for permission to be heard, nor do you allow others to turn the exchange into a stage for chaos. Epictetus once taught, you cannot control the actions of others, but you can control your response. And this phrase is the living proof of that wisdom. You protect your peace, you guard your dignity, and without a single insult, you compel the other person to reconsider their behavior. Here lies the secret. When you demand respect with calm words, people listen more carefully. The very first time you use this phrase, you'll notice it. The room grows quiet, the energy shifts, and suddenly, Your voice carries more weight than all the shouting combined. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Because true strength does not come from volume. It comes from composure. So remember this phrase. Carry it into your next heated moment. And when the storm of voices rises around you, be the calm center that says, "Let's talk," when we can do so respectfully. You don't walk away in fear. You walk away in control. And that is how respect is won. Now, we come to phrase 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. Because not every battle is worth fighting. Not every conversation deserves your energy. There are moments when words no longer seek truth, but only chase victory. There are moments when the person before you doesn't want resolution. They want domination. They want to drain you, trap you, pull you into their chaos. And this is where most people stumble. They argue longer. They raise their voices. They burn away hours of their lives proving a point that never needed proving. But you are different. You stop. You breathe deeply. And you say, calmly, without anger, without apology, I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. With those words, you close the door, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of strength. Because strength is not measured by how long you can argue. It is measured by how quickly you can protect your peace. Picture this. Someone keeps provoking you, circling back to the same points again and again, as if building a trap that tightens around you. You can feel that confinement growing. But instead of taking the bait, you smile faintly, steady your tone, and say, I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. The tension breaks instantly, because you've made a choice. You will not sacrifice inner calm for the illusion of winning. You will not allow yourself to be dragged into the mud alongside them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that is exactly what you've done. You've refused to mirror their anger. You've chosen dignity over drama. You've chosen control over chaos. And here is the truth. Walking away is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the choice to guard your peace instead of wasting it in battles that hold no meaning. And now, let's take one step further. Here's the truth. Walking away doesn't mean you lost. It means you saw clearly that the battle itself was meaningless. That the shouting, the endless back and forth, was nothing but smoke. When you walk away, you are not retreating. You are choosing where your energy goes. It means you valued your time, your mind, and your spirit more than their noise. Think about that for a moment. How many arguments in your life have ended with no real winner? How many hours have been burned in circles, debating things that were never going to change? Walking away is not defeat, it is wisdom. It's the realization that not every fire deserves your oxygen. This phrase is a reminder. You are not obligated to finish every argument. You are not chained to every conversation. Just because someone demands your attention does not mean they are entitled to it. You have the right, and even the duty, to end what does not serve you. So remember it, use it, and when the next pointless debate comes circling your way, when you feel the pull of someone trying to drag you into their storm, stand tall and say with calm strength, I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. Notice the difference here. You are not slamming the door in anger. You are closing it with dignity. Because sometimes the most powerful word is not the one that fuels dialogue. It is the one that ends it. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full of clarity. It is full of choice. And that leads us to phrase 5. The next tool in your arsenal of strength. That's your opinion. And I respect it, but I don't share it. In today's world, Opinions flow like rivers. Everyone has something to say about how you should live, how you should work, how you should love, even how you should think. And too often, those opinions are not offered as gentle advice but forced upon us like chains. Chains that can quietly bind you if you are not aware. Most people, when confronted with strong opinions, react in one of two ways. Some fight back, arguing point by point, raising their voices, burning endless energy in debates that rarely change anyone's mind. Others bend, they nod along, pretend to agree, or remain silent just to keep the peace. But the Stoic path offers something far wiser. A third way. You listen, you acknowledge, and then, calmly and clearly, you declare your independence. That's your opinion. And I respect it, but I don't share it. Do you feel the strength in those words? They are firm without being hostile. They are polite without being submissive. This phrase tells the world, I can honor your right to speak without surrendering my right to think. Picture this. A colleague insists you adopt their method, convinced it's the only way to get things done. A family member pressures you to follow their beliefs, certain that your life would be better if only you thought like them. In these moments, instead of locking horns and fighting, or bending and yielding, you pause, you take a breath, and you say with calm authority, that's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. What happens next is powerful. The air shifts. The pressure loses its grip. Because this phrase is balance in motion. It shuts the door to manipulation. Yet it leaves the bridge of respect standing. You are not dismissing them. But neither are you surrendering yourself. Seneca once warned, being a slave to the opinions of others is the worst of prisons. And this phrase is the key that unlocks that prison. It reminds you that you can respect someone without abandoning yourself. You can honor their voice without silencing your own. And here is the deeper truth. People may not agree with you. They may not even like your stance. Some may roll their eyes. Others may push harder. But even if they disagree, they will respect something undeniable. The quiet courage it takes to stand alone. To hold your ground calmly, gracefully, unapologetically, because strength is not found in crushing other opinions. It is not in silencing others or forcing them to bend. True strength lies in carrying your own beliefs with dignity. So the next time someone tries to press their beliefs onto you, remember this. You don't need to argue endlessly, burning yourself out in debates that lead nowhere. You don't need to bow silently, pretending to agree while your heart rebels inside. You have another path, a higher one. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and say with quiet confidence, that's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. That is how you keep your freedom. That is how you guard your peace. And that is how you show the world that dignity is louder than any raised voice. We've just seen that you don't need to argue endlessly, nor do you need to bow in silence before imposed opinions. Instead, you can stand tall, look the other person in the eye, and say, that's your opinion. I respect it, but I don't share it. Those words ring out as respectful, independent, and unshakable. And the question arises, why do these phrases make you stronger? Pay attention. Each phrase carries 3 shared qualities. First, they separate emotion from reaction. You don't fight fire with fire. You respond with clarity and composure. Second, they establish boundaries. Quietly, you teach others how they should treat you. And third, they radiate self-respect. And self-respect always comes before external respect. Each time you use these phrases, you're not just steering the conversation. You're practicing philosophy. You are embodying the Stoic belief that true power lies in mastery of the self. And here's the paradox. The less you try to force people to respect you, the more willingly they give it. Now, let's bring this into real life. How can you apply it in your daily world? First, at work, picture those endless meetings, the heated discussions. Many people choose silence, afraid to draw attention, while others react too quickly and leave behind a rash impression. But when you replace passive silence with calm, firm words, the atmosphere shifts. Your boss stops seeing you as timid, instead seeing you as reliable. Your colleagues no longer view you as impulsive, but as steady and composed. Second, in relationships, love cannot survive without boundaries. Arguments don't end relationships, disrespect does. And when you use these phrases, you draw the line with grace. You remind your partner, I value us, but I also value myself. That balance protects both love and dignity. Third, on social media, this is the battlefield of endless opinions, where debates can drag on for hours, draining every ounce of energy. Yet with a single line, I respect your view, but I don't share it, the fight ends before it even begins. You walk away lighter, stronger, and free from the endless noise. Fourth, with strangers, it could be a rude comment, a pushy salesperson, or someone testing your patience. Most expect anger or surrender, but when you remain calm and firm, you flip the script. You show them a simple truth. You don't control me. I control me. Life is full of small battles, thousands of fleeting moments where respect can either be lost or earned. And these phrases are not mere words. They are armor. They safeguard your peace, your dignity, your inner strength. Carry them, use them, and let the world witness the power of a mind that cannot be shaken. Conclusion. Simple words, calm words, yet together, these 5 phrases form a powerful code of self-respect. Because respect is never forced, it is earned through character. When you speak with serenity and firmness, people listen, they adjust their tone, and the world begins to treat you differently. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. So, here's my challenge for you this week. Choose one phrase, just one, and use it. Then, leave me a simple pledge in the comments. I choose respect. If what you've heard today inspired you, hit subscribe and join us here at Stoic Glow, where philosophy becomes practice.